Now, Carl, you reported on 247sports.com that it's your understanding the program has tabbed Jackson State head coach Deion Sanders as its top target. Why is this a good landing spot for Deion Sanders and a good marriage with Georgia Tech?
I don't know if it's good for Deion. I know that it would be good for Georgia Tech. Deion is a guy that became famous playing in Atlanta for both the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Falcons. It would be a huge recruiting home run for them with the way Deion has recruited and how loved he is in the state of Georgia, and more importantly, in the city of Atlanta. There's a lot of blue chip high school football talent in Atlanta and the Georgia area. But Georgia Tech needs to show Deion that they're serious about being a big time college football program. You're going to have to go in there against Clemson. You're going to have to go against the University of Miami. NC State has turned the corner. Pitt has turned the corner. Does Georgia Tech want to compete at that level for national championships? They have not shown yet that that's the level that they want to compete at. So them being in Atlanta, Georgia is not going to be enough for them to lure Deion Sanders, but he is definitely a target on their list. But Georgia Tech needs to show not only Deion, but any other serious candidate that they're really serious about winning at the major college football level.
Real quick, Carl, how do they do that before Deion gets there? What do they need to show him?
You need to give a commitment to facilities. You need to make a commitment to staffing, to a recruiting department and personnel positions, which has become very important in the now recruiting landscape. You need to show commitment to prospering in the NIL business because that has also become a major factor in it. Can you get transfer portal guys in because of the strict academic requirements they have at Georgia Tech? Are you willing to be even a little bit lenient on the academic side of it? Those are all questions that need to be answered for anybody who wants to take that job. And if you're not serious about that, then you have to look in other directions, because there also is an opportunity for you to just say, hey, this is who we are. And we're not necessarily trying to compete for national championships, but we do want to have a respectable football program. And then there's a level of candidates for that as well.
Blake, what do you think about Carl just said?
Yeah, I think he hit it right on the nail on top of the head there. It's a commitment to winning, and it goes from the top of your program, from the president all the way down to through the student body. And if they want to win at a high level, then they're going to have to shell out a lot of money. They're going to have to make their academic requirements there a little bit more lax. And they're going to have to pay these coaches a lot of money. I mean, Deion would be a home run hire if he was able to hire his top O&D coordinator that he wanted. I mean, because Deion would be a great figurehead for the program with recruiting in Atlanta. It's a very talented area. And within hundreds of miles each direction, there's athletes and players everywhere. So that would be my first pick. But you can also go the route where they just left with Paul Johnson and go triple option. And I think that would be a route that they could have success doing too. For some reason, a lot of these schools don't want to go back to the triple option. And I think for a lot of these schools, that's a great recipe for success. Georgia Tech had a lot of success doing it. They had, some of the few times that Georgia had problems, not recently, but they were able to get them a little bit with the triple option attack, and it causes a lot of problems in preparation. So that's not a horrible idea either. But that if they choose to go back to that style, then they're obviously not going to be winning any national championships anytime soon.
Blake, Paul Johnson did a great job at Georgia Tech running the triple option, and you are right. A lot of people don't want to go to that. But I also want to make a point that Paul Johnson is also a dynamic leader and was an incredible head coach. National championships in the FCS level at Georgia Southern, turned the Navy program completely around, and then he went and had success at Georgia Tech. And so the system is great, and it's a way to neutralize talent. But you also have to take into account, regardless of what system you run, you need a dynamic leader of men. Paul Johnson was that. Deion Sanders is that. So whoever the coach is, you have to make sure first and foremost that he's a dynamic leader and an exceptional CEO in being able to run a college football program.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a slam dunk for Georgia Tech, but there are a few implications with Deion Sanders. We'll talk about his status at Jackson State in a bit. But first, guys, this is the third Power 5 job open before the end of September, so you have to assume there will be more coming down the block. Auburn's Brian Harsin was in the news this weekend when reports surfaced saying he would be let go if the Tigers lost to Missouri. They did not. Barely. So given the seemingly many options for Deion, Carl, is Georgia Tech the best fit of what else is out there?
Well, I don't know if Georgia Tech is the best fit. Obviously, Auburn is a better football job than Georgia Tech. They've won national championships in recent history, and they have a boatload of resources. The thing about Auburn, and talking to coaches who've coached at Auburn, not only the former head coaches, but assistants and guys on staff, it can be a nightmare dealing with those boosters. So Deion is not the kind of guy that's going to let the boosters push him around and tell him how to run his program. So even though that Deion is a hot candidate, he does not have to leave Jackson State. He's in a position to completely demand exactly what he wants and say, if you want me, this is the things that I need. A, B, C, D. Whether it's money for the staff, whether it's a commitment to facilities, player personnel department, whatever it is that he requires, he is holding all the cards, and he's in a position to say, this is exactly what I want. And he does not have to take anything less than what he's requiring. He has put himself in that kind of position with what he's done at Jackson State, and because of who he is and the type of instant credibility he brings to your program.
Yeah, one would assume that money is not necessarily a factor for him. So Blake, if he chooses to leave Jackson State, where do you think is a good landing spot for Deion?
I mean, he'll probably have plenty of options. I mean, Carl knows him a lot better than I do, but I would think Georgia Tech would be an option that I would look at. It's an easier conference than the SEC West. That's where coaches go to die. That's a really tough place to make a living. And the ACC, even though it is on the rise, Florida State seems to be really trending up quickly there. And I think that would be a consideration with Atlanta and his history there and his name recognition. His ability to be able to recruit the South, I think, would be a great fit for him. But he would need to be able to hire the best offensive and defensive coordinator that he sees fit to lead that program. And they would be a recruiting juggernaut. I can promise you that.
Carl, let's close the door on the Deion Sanders conversation with this. If the goal is still for Jackson State to one day make that move to FBS, that's with Coach Prime leading the charge. So how far away are they from making that happen, and does Deion stick around to see it through?
Well, I don't think that they're definitely having those discussions right now at Jackson State about the possibility of going to FBS, but there is a process in term with that, and there's a financial commitment. They're going to need some outside help financially. You're going to need some donors. You're going to need some sponsorship dollars. So you're in the process right now of seeing how feasible that is. But if Jackson State is willing to make that move, then I think that they have a great shot at keeping Deion Sanders there for the foreseeable future, because he would be the visionary and the guy to take that program to the next level. He has already let you know he doesn't like playing in the classic games. He doesn't like necessarily the current model of the way HBCU football is situated, and he's trying to take it to another level. So if Jackson State really gets behind him and pushes it to that level, then I think you have a great chance that he stays at Jackson State and continues to build on what he's already started, and which is doing something extremely special.
All right, Carl, real quick, you've got a story up online at 247sports.com. Give me a few other names that we should look out for Georgia Tech.
I think one of the names that you have to also look at is Dell McGee, the running back coach at the University of Georgia, a former state championship winning coach at the high school level at Carver High School in Georgia. He's one of the founders of the Georgia Minority Coaches Association, along with Amat Tinker. He is a powerhouse recruiter. He's also an incredible football coach and knows how to run programs. He's been a big part of the Georgia Bulldogs national championship run. And I think he would be an excellent fit, and it would go over really well with the high school coaches in Atlanta and the state of Georgia. Jamie Chadwell, who's an option guy, he runs this option more out of the shotgun. So maybe that fools kids sometimes and make them feel like they're running a little bit of the spread stuff. But he's done a great job at Coastal Carolina. This is the kind of job that could be right up his alley in terms of option football and recruiting kids that have higher grades. Alex Atkins, the offensive coordinator, offensive line coach at Florida State. He has a lot of recruiting experience in Georgia, former assistant coach at Georgia Southern. He has recruited extensively throughout the Southeast, and you've seen how well Florida State is playing, how well they've recruited. He's ready for his first opportunity as well to be a head coach. Those are guys to keep an eye on as this search for Georgia Tech continues.